New York City, winter 1931. Vito Genovese buries his first wife. Tuberculosis took her slowly, the disease that kills 1 in 7 Americans before antibiotics arrive. He stands graveside in a dark coat, face showing nothing, while men from the Luciano organization watch from a respectful distance. They know what he is. Inside the family, Genovese handles the work nobody else wants. The finisher. The man you call when the problem needs erasing completely. The Castellammarese War ended months earlier. September 1931. Salvatore Maranzano dead. The old mustache Pete's eliminated. Lucky Luciano reorganizing New York's 5 families into the structure that will last decades. Genovese did cleanup work during those months. Bodies that needed disappearing, witnesses who needed convincing, messages delivered in blood. 20 murders minimum, possibly 40, nobody counts officially. What matters is the reputation. When Genovese gets assigned a problem, the problem stops existing. By December 1931, he operates as one of Luciano's top enforcers. Not the strategist, that's Meyer Lansky. Not the charismatic front, that's Luciano himself. Genovese is the machinery. The man who makes decisions stick through violence, so efficient it becomes routine. 34 years old, born in Naples, immigrated at 15, learned American business through extortion and murder. No charm, no pretense, just capability and ambition running in parallel. But now his wife is dead, and he's alone, and there's a woman. Her name is Anna Petillo, though later she'll be called Anna Vernotico after her husband. The husband's name is Gerard Vernotico. He's connected. Not a made man, but an associate, someone who runs errands, handles small operations, collects envelopes from businesses paying protection. He's useful but replaceable. The wife is something else. Genovese sees her at a wedding in January 1932. She's dark-haired, beautiful in the way that stops conversation when she walks past. He watches her all night. Doesn't approach. Doesn't need to. He's already decided. Within the organization, people notice where his attention lands. Within a week, the back rooms are discussing it. Genovese wants Vernotico's wife. The only question is timeline. February 1932. Gerard Vernotico receives a message. Someone wants to meet him. Not unusual. He handles collections, delivers payments, coordinates shipments. Business happens in restaurants, social clubs, late-night conversations in parked cars. He goes alone. The location changes twice. Classic precaution or deliberate confusion, depends on perspective. He arrives at the second location. He doesn't leave. March 12, 1932. Vernotico's body surfaces. The details stay vague. Official reports list blunt force trauma. Unofficial accounts mention strangulation. What's clear is the timing. The body appears in a location where it will be found quickly, but not immediately. Enough delay to establish death, not enough to complicate funeral arrangements. The message in the corpse disposal. This was business, not rage. Calculated. Professional. Anna becomes a widow. She mourns appropriately. Black dress, veiled face at the funeral. The rituals expected in Italian-American communities where widowhood carries social weight. People bring food. They offer condolences. They don't ask questions. The silence surrounding Vernotico's death speaks clearly. Nobody investigates. No witnesses emerge. The police file reports, conduct minimal investigation, close the case unsolved. That level of official disinterest requires protection from above. Someone powerful wants this death forgotten. March 24, 1932. 12 days after Vernotico's body surfaces. Vito Genovese marries Anna Vernotico. Not a quiet ceremony. A wedding at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in East Harlem. Guests include major Luciano organization figures. Frank Costello attends. Joe Adonis attends. The wedding is public, announced, celebrated. No hiding. No shame. The timing is the message. Inside mob circles, the interpretation is instant. Genovese ordered the husband killed. Genovese took the widow. Genovese married her 2 weeks later. The sequence is too clean for coincidence, too fast for natural romance following tragedy. This is acquisition. This is power demonstration. This is Vito Genovese announcing that personal desire and organizational authority answer to the same enforcement mechanism, him. The effect ripples immediately. Anna's late husband had connections, small revenue streams. relationships with bookmakers and numbers runners across several neighborhoods. Those relationships transfer with the marriage. Envelopes that used to go to Vernotico now land on Genovese's table. Men who might have argued about who inherits the territory stop arguing when they understand who Anna's new husband is. The marriage isn't romance. It's corporate takeover with a marriage license. More importantly, it establishes pattern. Genovese doesn't separate life into compartments. Home and business run on the same fuel, control through force. If he wants something, he takes it. If someone blocks the path, they stop existing. The organization adjusts. The family absorbs the shock. Life continues with Vito one step higher, one layer more feared. Inside the Luciano organization, Genovese's standing hardens like concrete. Before, he was the reliable killer, the man who handled dirty necessities. Now he's the man who does it for himself and survives the reaction. That survival becomes its own protection. When Genovese's name enters a conversation about problems, people lower their voices. When he walks into a sit-down about disputed territory, negotiations end faster. His preference becomes the default because arguing means risk nobody wants. The marriage brings Anna into Genovese's world completely. She's no longer just a beautiful woman from the neighborhood. She's Mrs. Vito Genovese, wife of a man who murdered her previous husband to possess her. That knowledge shapes everything. She dresses in furs and jewelry that cost more than working families earn annually. She attends social functions where mob wives discuss recipes while their husbands discuss murder. She knows what her husband does. She knows how she became his wife. She lives with both facts. For Genovese, the marriage delivers multiple returns. Social legitimacy. A beautiful wife provides cover, makes him look like a successful businessman rather than a killer. Financial access. Vernotico's network now feeds into Genovese's operations. Strategic positioning. The speed and audacity of the move intimidates rivals who might otherwise test him. Fear compounds. Power accumulates. The pattern repeats. 1934. Ferdinand the Shadow Boccia becomes a problem. Boccia is a small-time hood, numbers runner, someone who exists on organized crime's margins. The dispute involves money and a rigged card game. Details vary depending on who tells the story. What's consistent? Boccia wins money he shouldn't have won. Money connected to Genovese operations. Money someone powerful decides Boccia shouldn't keep. September 19, 1934. Boccia disappears. His body surfaces later, 2 bullets, execution style. Professional work. The murder connects to Genovese through witnesses, through paper trails, through the mathematical certainty that Boccia's death benefits specific people, and Genovese is one of them. The difference this time, authorities build a case. Witnesses come forward. Evidence accumulates. Manhattan District Attorney moves toward indictment. By 1937, the legal pressure becomes serious. Genovese faces potential murder charges that could send him to execution. The options narrow. Fight the case in New York courts where prosecutors have witnesses and evidence. Or leave. May 1937. Vito Genovese boards a ship to Italy. He takes Anna. He takes enough money to live comfortably abroad indefinitely. He leaves behind properties, operations, his position in the Luciano organization. He doesn't fight the Boccia case. He runs. But the running is strategic. Italy under Mussolini welcomes Italian-American criminals with money and connections. Genovese won't hide. He'll wait. In Italy, Genovese operates openly. He befriends Italian fascist officials, contributes to the regime, builds relationships that will matter later. Anna lives as a mob wife in exile, luxury apartments, servants, the lifestyle that money provides anywhere. They wait. The war comes. Mussolini falls. The Allies invade. Genovese switches sides, works with American military authorities, provides intelligence, makes himself useful. His ability to navigate transitions, to survive regime changes, to find protection regardless of who holds power. These skills keep him alive. Allied forces control Italy. Genovese works as an interpreter for the U.S. Army. He also continues operating black market trade, stolen supplies, the same rackets he ran in New York but adapted to wartime conditions. He makes money. He makes connections. He waits for the right moment to return. June 1945. The war in Europe ends. Genovese begins preparing return to New York. But the Boccia case still exists. Witnesses still live. Evidence still sits in prosecutors' files. He can't return safely until the case collapses. Between 1945 and 1946, witnesses die. Peter Latempa, key witness against Genovese, dies in protective custody in Brooklyn. Poisoned. The official explanation involves medication errors. Nobody believes it. Ernest the Hawk Rupolo, another witness, survives initially but eventually gets killed years later, 1964, his body dumped in Jamaica Bay. Mike Miranda, witness, refuses to testify. Disappears. The pattern is clear. Anyone who can put Genovese at the Boccia murder either dies, recants, or vanishes. With witnesses dead or silent, the Boccia case collapses. Prosecutors drop charges. No trial. No conviction. Vito Genovese returns to New York a free man. He's been gone 9 years. The organization changed during his absence. Lucky Luciano got deported to Italy in 1946 after serving time on compulsory prostitution charges. Frank Costello runs the family now, maintaining Luciano's interests while building his own power base. Genovese returns to a landscape he needs to reclaim. He's not in charge. He's not even second in command. He's a returning soldier with reputation and history, but no current position. What he has is the pattern established in 1932. He takes what he wants. He removes obstacles. He survives consequences. That pattern served him before. He'll use it again. The years between 1946 and 1957 involved Genovese slowly rebuilding power, eliminating rivals, positioning himself to challenge Costello's leadership. He uses the same tactics that worked in 1932: violence, strategic marriages through alliances, patience mixed with sudden aggression. He waits for moments when others look vulnerable, then moves decisively. May 2, 1957. Frank Costello survives an assassination attempt. A gunman shoots at Costello in the lobby of his Central Park West apartment building. The bullet grazes his scalp. Costello survives, but gets the message. Weeks later, he retires from active leadership, ceding control rather than fight. Genovese becomes boss. The family that operated under Luciano's structure, that Costello maintained, now answers to Vito Genovese. The family that will eventually carry his name. The 1932 marriage surfaces again during this period, not as asset, but as liability. Anna knows too much. She lived through Vernotico's murder, through the Italian exile, through the post-war return. She knows money flows, operation details, relationships that could damage Genovese if exposed. In the 1950s, as federal authorities intensify organized crime investigations, as Senate committees hold hearings, as IRS pursues tax cases, the women in mob families become potential witnesses. Anna Genovese files for divorce in 1950. She's 50 years old, married to Vito for 18 years, tired of the violence and infidelity that defines mob marriages. The divorce proceedings become public. She testifies about hidden income, about nightclub rackets, about money Vito never reported to tax authorities. She's not trying to destroy him. She wants alimony, financial security, revenge for affairs, and humiliations. But her testimony damages him anyway. Her statements to divorce court reveal operational details prosecutors can use. She discusses how money moves through seemingly legitimate businesses. She describes properties owned through fronts. She maps relationships between criminals who claim no association. The testimony isn't comprehensive enough to build federal cases, but it provides leads, confirms suspicions, validates investigation paths. For Genovese, the testimony represents the cost of that 1932 decision. He brought Anna into his life through murder. He married her for control and access. He kept her close for 18 years, allowing her to observe operations, to understand money flows, to know what he was. Now she's a witness he can't eliminate without triggering massive federal investigation. He can threaten. He can pressure. He can limit her statements through legal maneuvering. But he can't kill her without consequences that would destroy him. The divorce finalizes in 1951. Anna receives alimony, but not the amount she wanted. She survives, living quietly, never testifying further. Genovese survives, though the embarrassment damages his reputation. The life always charges twice. The 1932 marriage bought him power, but it also brought a witness into his house. That witness eventually spoke. The compound interest came due. By 1957, Genovese runs the most powerful crime family in New York. 5 families operate under the commission structure Luciano established in 1931, but the Genovese family dominates. Vito controls labor unions, gambling operations, narcotics trafficking, loan sharking networks across New York and New Jersey. He's the boss he intended to become when he murdered Gerard Vernotico in 1932. November 14, 1957. Appalachian, New York. Genovese calls a meeting of mob leaders from across the country. Over 60 bosses gather at Joseph Barbara's estate to discuss organization issues, territory disputes, heroin trafficking policies. It's meant to demonstrate Genovese's authority, his ability to convene the commission, his position at the top. Instead, state police raid the meeting. Agents swarm the property. Bosses flee through woods, scatter in cars, abandon meetings mid-conversation. Dozens get arrested. Names get recorded. The Appalachian raid exposes the national scope of organized crime to American public, triggers federal investigations that will dismantle mob power over the next decades. Genovese intended the meeting as coronation. It becomes disaster. Federal prosecutors indict Genovese on narcotics conspiracy charges. The case involves heroin trafficking, testimony from mob associates turned government witnesses, evidence of drug operations running through New York docks. Genovese goes to trial. July 1959. A jury convicts him. The judge sentences him to 15 years in federal prison. Genovese maintains innocence. He claims framing, conspiracy, betrayal by rivals who wanted him removed. Some evidence supports this. Mob families did cooperate with federal authorities to eliminate Genovese, who pushed too hard, consolidated too much power, threatened established balances. But the conviction stands. April 1959. Vito Genovese enters Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. He's 62 years old. He continues running family operations from prison through intermediaries, passing orders during visits, maintaining control through reputation and fear. But imprisoned power is limited power. Younger men rise. Territories shift. The family continues operating, but Genovese's direct influence diminishes. February 14, 1969. Vito Genovese dies in prison. Heart attack at age 71. He served 10 years of the 15-year sentence. He died incarcerated, removed from the streets where he built power through murder and marriage. Exiled from the organization he fought decades to control. The 1932 marriage to Anna stands as the template for everything that followed. The murder, the widow, the public wedding 2 weeks later. That sequence announced Genovese's method to everyone who mattered. Personal desire and business authority collapsed into the same lever. If he wanted something, he took it. If someone blocked him, they died. The family adjusted. The organization absorbed the shock. That pattern explained Vito Genovese to the people who lived under him. When Luciano went to prison in 1936, rivals who might have challenged Genovese for position remembered 1932. They remembered Vernotico. They remembered the wedding. They chose not to test him. That's how the early act shaped later outcomes. Through intimidation that lasted, through reputation that became its own weapon. The Boccia murder in 1934 followed the same logic. Problem emerges. Problem gets eliminated. Consequences get managed through flight, then through witness elimination, then through legal collapse. The 9-year exile showed patience. The post-war return showed calculation. The witness deaths showed reach. But the method, violence plus nerve equals new facts, and facts outlive talk, remained consistent with 1932. Inside mob culture, marriage functions as business transaction. Strategic alliances between families happen through wedding ceremonies. Revenue streams transfer through family connections. Loyalty gets cemented through bloodlines and marriage papers. Genovese understood this. The marriage to Anna wasn't only personal acquisition. It was operational integration. Vernotico's network became Genovese's network through marriage certificate. The pattern appears throughout mob history. Carlo Gambino married into organized crime. Joseph Bonanno married within Sicilian networks. Marriage served strategic purpose, binding families, securing loyalty, transferring assets. What made the Genovese-Anna marriage distinctive was the timing and transparency. 12 days between body and wedding. No pretense of natural romance. Just elimination and acquisition compressed into 2 weeks that everyone understood. Anna's later testimony revealed the risk. Bringing a witness into the house, letting her observe operations for 18 years, trusting she'd never talk. That bet eventually failed. Not completely. She didn't destroy him. But she damaged him at a time when federal pressure was intensifying, when Senate committees were investigating, when IRS was pursuing mob figures through tax prosecution. Her testimony provided ammunition that helped authorities build pressure even if it didn't build cases. The cost-benefit analysis on the 1932 marriage: immediate power gains, revenue access, intimidation factor, social legitimacy. Long-term costs: witness in the house, divorce publicity, court testimony about operations, personal exposure that created vulnerabilities. In the short run, the tactic worked perfectly. In the long run, it left seams that enemies could exploit. Genovese lived with both outcomes. By the time he died in prison, 1969, Genovese had spent 37 years living off the compound interest from that 1932 shock. The reputation that did half the talking in any negotiation. The income streams that came with Anna and her late husband's network. The habit of deciding instantly and forcing everyone else to keep up. The capacity for violence that made people comply before threats became necessary. The family that carried his name continued operating after his death. Genovese's crime family remains one of New York's 5 families today, involved in labor racketeering, gambling, fraud, the usual mob operations adapted to modern conditions. The organization survived its founder, absorbed his methods into institutional culture, continued the business practices he established through murder and marriage. History remembers Vito Genovese as a crime boss, a killer, one of the most powerful mob figures in mid-20th century America. The biographical details get compressed. Castellammarese War veteran, Luciano enforcer, Italian exile, narcotics trafficker, imprisoned don. The 1932 marriage becomes footnote, interesting detail, evidence of personal brutality. But inside mob circles, inside the organizational culture that transmitted knowledge through gossip and reputation, the 1932 marriage meant everything. It branded Genovese as the capo who would turn private want into public order and survive the reaction. It positioned him ahead of rivals when opportunities emerged. It demonstrated the core principle of his method: collapse home and business, desire and rank, personal and professional into single unified force directed by will and backed by lethal capability. That single choice: kill the man, take the widow, inherit the network, marry her publicly 2 weeks after the body surfaces, became the story that explained Vito Genovese to everyone who had to live under him. Not rumor, not romance, just power transaction told in 3 beats: death, marriage, realignment of money and fear. The lesson the life teaches: decisions taken with speed and nerve create facts. Facts outlive talk. People remember violence. They adjust behavior accordingly. The organization bends toward those who demonstrate willingness to enforce absolutely, to eliminate obstacles instantly, to survive consequences through force or flight. Anna Genovese died in 1982, age 82, having outlived Vito by 13 years. She survived the marriage, the divorce, the mob life. She testified once, lived quietly after. No mob retaliation, no mysterious accidents. She knew secrets, but kept most of them. The organization let her live because killing her would have cost more than her silence was worth. Gerard Vernotico died in 1932, age 34, because he stood between Vito Genovese and something Genovese wanted. His murder remains officially unsolved. No arrests, no convictions, just a body that appeared when needed and a widow who married his killer 12 days later. That's the transaction. That's the template. That's the story. Personal desire plus business authority plus lethal force equals facts. Facts compound. Facts outlive everyone involved. The bodies get buried. The marriage papers file in county records. The organization adjusts and continues. The pattern establishes itself and repeats until prison or death interrupts the sequence. Vito Genovese understood this. He lived it. He died in prison still believing it worked. The method bought him 37 years of power, bought him control of a crime family, bought him fear and money and position. It also bought him imprisonment, divorce publicity, witness testimony, enemies who cooperated with federal authorities to eliminate him. Both outcomes came from the same source. The 1932 marriage announced who he was. Everyone saw it. Everyone adjusted. Some adjusted by complying. Some adjusted by eliminating him when opportunity arrived. The life charged twice. He paid both bills. One in divorce court, one in federal prison. Neither payment changed the fundamental equation. For those 37 years between Vernotico's murder and his own death, Vito Genovese operated exactly as he announced in 1932. He took what he wanted. He eliminated obstacles. He survived until he didn't. That's the only story that matters.